Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations to all of my people out there in internet land. This is William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege, nay, the honor of serving as the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. Welcome to Thursday, February 17th, 2022. Happy 17th day of Black History Month, and happy Random Act of Kindness Day. I think it's really important, because as we've been doing this, I've been really looking into these observance days and things like that. And I come across some of these like Random Act of Kindness Day. I mean, that's actually a pretty cool day to have, just to take an opportunity and do something nice for no reason, not in reciprocity, not with any expectation, just because it's nice to do. So make sure you get out there and you enjoy Random Act of Kindness Day. We got a little change up for you today. I know today we were going to have Quinn Conyers on to talk to us about all things Quinn, because, she's into a whole lot of things. But guess what? She's into a whole lot of things. So she got a phone call from the people over at Ebony and Jet Magazine. So she had to pivot a little, and she won't be able to join us this morning. However, it gave me a perfect opportunity to air a never-before-seen interview I had with Veronica Wright as we talked about drug legalization. So, boom! You thought you were going to come here and find out about Quinn, but you're going to find out how we can change the community by really rethinking our legislation and really rethinking our policies on drug legalization and how we incarcerate and how we look at it as a behavioral health problem as opposed to a moral failing. So it's going to be a great conversation. Now the cool part is I've already seen this conversation, so you all are going to be surprised. It's going to be funny. It's going to be crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. It's actually not crazy. It's actually a really good conversation. It's really deep dive into kind of the politics of it all and stuff like that. It might even find you a blooper or two in there. I'm not gonna say nothing, but we'll see how much attention y'all are really paying. But we can't do this without thanking the sponsors. First of all, foremost, Edible Arrangements. One big shout out to Edible Arrangements. They heard our guest yesterday, Miss Shanier Carter. We're talking a little bit about that show. And guess what? Boom, shakalak, boom. Somebody heard her talking, and she got an edible arrangement. Jesus, woohoo! And she was very happy with it. That's what I'm talking about, man. We have to support those organizations in our community that support us. And just in case you want to know, because this is not what it looks like in the store. This is what it looks like at my house. You know what I mean? Like that. You check that out. I got that. Now it don't look like that no more. Actually, it's in a lot of different pieces, but still, that's what it looked like when I got it. So you too can enjoy and celebrate with Edible Arrangements, especially the stores in Govans, Randallstown, and in Pittsburgh. Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy, every day I tell you all how impressive they have been in supporting the Black community in issues around civil litigation and also around equity and making sure that the government is being responsive to the needs of the community. Worst case scenario, you give Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy a call, tell them your problem, and they're not able to help you directly, but can refer you to someone who can. Best case scenario, they can give you some information, some support, and some guidance that will transform your case and may save you a lot of money or get you a lot of money. Don't know what your circumstance is, but reach out to Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy, and maybe they can help you. Right now, there are some of you all who are watching us right now in the metaverse, and that is all thanks to SimCity USA. We have an amazing partnership with them, and they do really great work. And again, another organization that's really active in the Black community, trying to ensure that the digital divide gets smaller and not longer. And in real life, sometimes you find yourself in a situation where your liberty is threatened, and you're looking at fines and jail time and things like that. Make sure you reach out to somebody who can fight for you, somebody who can make the difference in your case. And in a lot of cases, that's the warrior lawyer, J. Wendell Gordon. They don't call him the warrior lawyer because it rhymes. They call him the warrior lawyer because he fights for his clients. Google him. I mean, we're talking about people who have the reputation and the engagement where you don't have to just ask around and trust me. Google him, and you will see the type of work that he puts in for the community and his client. My company, The Grinding Gang, we are always happy and look forward to the opportunities to help you take your business to the next level. That sometimes means just trying to figure out, what do you do with all of the information that you have? There are times where you read one article and it says do this, and then you read another article and it says do the opposite. Then you talk to somebody who's been in business, the line of business you want to be in, for longer than you have, and they tell you to do something even different, more different than that. It gets really confusing, and that's where we can come in and help you make sense of it all. You can have access to our knowledge library, our videos, our business documents, examples, and templates. And also, we have free monthly events. You can come through and get some information that can transform your business and really put you in the position where you can achieve the goals that you are looking for. Our newest sponsor, I Am Black Wall Street, a book written by Donnie Glover with a foreword from Judge William Billy Murphy Jr. It is a different look at Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He not only talks about Tulsa, Oklahoma, he also talks about some of the other places that are also considered Black Wall Street. But the thing that makes his book very interesting and very relevant is that he takes a look on how did Black Wall Street come about. He recognizes that, Tulsa, Oklahoma was not one of those port cities where the slaves were dropped off at. People had to migrate there, and he follows their journey there, and what resources they used and how they worked together to really build this thriving community that was torn down. But I think we can learn a lot in the lessons he shares in I Am Black Wall Street on what we can do now to help build a better society and create some generational wealth. Finally, last but not least, you all know this, absolutely not least, Darker Than Blue Cafe. You know what's really a thing? I gotta tell you, I went to Darker Than Blue last night. I wasn't even gonna tell y'all about this. I went to Darker Than Blue last night, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give me a nice little hamburger, do something real calm. They are so popular. They were preparing for a whole event. I was like, oh no, because y'all know I don't get out a lot with all this COVID and stuff going on right now. But I was like, dang nabbit. Mm, 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 but it's okay. I know where they at, and I know how to get back there. So Darker Than Blue, yeah, you have not seen the last of me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you the next time. Oh, had a great time last night with Michelle Howard. Big up to Michelle Howard. She has another show on BlackUSA.news. She was talking about MBE, WBE, DBE. So I'm sorry, Minority Business Enterprise, Women Business Enterprise, and Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Certification, and the Small Business Reserve Program in Maryland. And I got so excited listening to her. I jumped on. I really did. Yeah. And Donnie, he acted like he seemed like he was okay with it when he came on, because he had to come on at the end because I had questions. I had questions, and I wasn't typing fast enough on Facebook so she could respond. So I was just like, I know where to click the button. So I clicked the buttons and just showed up in her show. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna keep this job, yo. I gotta be honest. It's like when I tell you all the stories about what happened, I'm like, but I'm here, and I'm here for y'all. Y'all keep supporting me, please, because I'm a wild one, and if left to my own devices, who knows how that's gonna go. Yesterday's show, we had Shanair Carter on here with her book, You Can Have Both, The Guilt-Proof Guide to Managing Your Relationships Like You Do Your Business. That was a really interesting conversation. Like, I love talking to Shanair. And by the way, we kept it mostly professional-esque. So congratulations to us, big pat on the back, because that's my ace boon coon, and we have a great time when we hang out. But it was a really great opportunity to anchor into how do you become self-aware and prepared to be actively engaged in a relationship. Because a lot of times we look at our relationship or our partners in our relationship as an extension of ourselves or a supplement to ourselves. And what she was talking about is like being a person and self-aware and trying to define what relationship you want to be in and not just trying to hope it works out. So that was a great conversation. So if you all didn't see that, that's your fault. That's not even on me. That's not on me. That's not my fault. You all should have seen it. But guess what? Facebook and YouTube are really great because they kept it in archive. So go ahead and check that out. That's the show from Wednesday, February 16th with Shanier Carter. Tomorrow, one of my favorite. I know so many dope people. Tomorrow we're having Alma Brown on. She is so wonderful. She is not just an entrepreneur. So we're going to talk to her about her entrepreneurial journey right now because she has redirected her efforts and are really investing in herself so she can grow her business. But she has been an active participant in the community and really trying to engage in healing the community through our conversations, through our engagements, through a way for us to be open with each other. So it's going to be an awesome conversation. I am so looking forward to that. I love, you know what? I really do have to start behaving better or fitting in better because I have a wonderful job. Like I have a great opportunity to know dope people and to bring and share them with you. Oh, like I could just run through the list. Darnell, Erica, Misha, Michelle, Lisa. Like it is amazing just the type of people that I get to share with you guys, and it is great. I am humbled and grateful all the time for what I get an opportunity to do here. 5 days a week, not every day, because I need some time away from you people. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. No, I'm joking. I love this. And so let me stop gushing over my job. The performance evaluations aren't even for like another 3 months. Want to be a big shout out since we're going to be talking about drug legalization today. I want to have a big shout out to the Turk House. They have done some amazing work in Baltimore. I talked about them a few weeks ago when I talked about my man Chris Maynard. How they work to address substance abuse and substance use issues in Baltimore City. They have an incredible campaign, and they've built new spaces and new beds and new facilities for the people that they serve. And one of the things that I appreciate about them most is that they treat people like people. So that is a really, you just want to give them a big shout out, and also a big shout out to Mikasa Esukasa Behavioral Health Program. Also, another really great program that is really heavily engaged in trying to address the horrors of substance abuse on our community, and are doing a really great job of it too. They have housing and stuff like that, as well as substance use job training and stuff. So anyway, again, I know some dope people, so big shout out to them as well. So what we're going to do, oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you about the Perfect Pitch Planning Program that's happening this Saturday, the 19th. You know what? I'm going to tell you about it now. And then as soon as I finish telling you about it, we're going to come back and talk to Veronica Wright.
Hi, my name is William Honolulu Jr., and I have the privilege of being the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. BlackUSA.news has partnered with the DM Firm, The Grinding Gang, Be More News, and DM Global Marketing and PR Firm to bring you the Perfect Pitch Planning Program. The program will help business owners develop the skills to compete and present a detailed plan to open or grow a business. During the program, you will learn how to create an entrepreneurial mindset, how to clarify and communicate who your target customer is, how to design your business model to meet your customer's need, and how to create realistic financial projections. The first session will be held on February 19th from 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you register by February 10th, you will receive an additional $50 discount. If you use the promo code BlackUSA.news, you will receive an extra 10% off. If you are ready to take your business to the next level and save some money, act now before prices rise. This program is sponsored by the book I Am Black Wall Street by Donnie Glover, with a foreword by the Honorable William Billy Murphy Jr.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen in internet land, I have the privilege and honor of being here with Veronica Wright of Make Drugs Legal. We're going to talk a lot about the epidemic of drugs in the Black community and how it has been become pervasive. You know, we started talking we when we talk about drugs, we really have to think back through the 1990s and the crack epidemic and how that really eliminated an entire generation of families. And so Veronica, you know, instead of because I will wax poetic later about the problems of the war on drugs and things like that, but tell us a little. Introduce yourself to the audience out here in internet land.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My name is Veronica Wright. I'm founder of a nonprofit called the National Coalition for Drug Legalization. The mission of the organization is to advance the conversation about drug legalization through research and community service.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about the community service that you guys do, or the community service that you focus on. How are you all engaging the community?
So my nonprofit started as a 501c3 in 2019, and our work in the community has been slow, but I would like to think meaningful. We do mainly public forums.
Mm-hmm.
So even before I started my nonprofit, I remember the very first public forum I ever did was in 2018, and that was the year that Ben Jealous was running for governor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I was one of those people who was not woke. Watching him on the campaign trail helped me to be more aware about issues that affect Black men and just Black people in general, like things like bail reform,
Right.
things like ban the box, civil asset forfeiture, no-knock raids, and just everything that falls under the umbrella, mandatory minimums, everything that falls under the umbrella of criminal justice reform. I didn't know anything about
Wow.
that, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I became inspired by his campaign and everything that he stood for, and I had my very first public forum at Montgomery College.
Mm-hmm.
It was on drug decriminalization, and he was my guest speaker. And I had a wonderful panelist. I had Pete France on there. I had Bill Murphy. I had Karen York from JOTF. I had our county health director there. And it was just a wonderful event. And I know that people that walked away on that day, felt something.
Right.
And so that was like the beginning of my, involvement and how I wanted to get involved in the community.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, as I was talking about drug decriminalization with that one event, my heart was leaning towards drug legalization.
Right. So let's share with everybody, or you told me in our pre-interview, but tell everybody how you got here, how you got this how this became part of your mission.
So, like I mentioned to you earlier, I was one of those people who didn't even believe in marijuana legalization as late as 2017, William. And, I would hear talks about marijuana legalization. In my mind, I was like, well, why would you want to do that? People are going to be smoking and driving. That's all I could think about was smoking and driving.
Okay.
And I didn't know about, the criminal justice piece, the racial justice piece of why so many people want to legalize marijuana. Because, and so I'll talk about that later. But when my cousin passed away, it made me pay attention even more so to issues that affect Black men. My cousin Dwayne, he was born addicted to drugs. He went to prison for drugs, and he died an alcoholic. And at his funeral, I met his son for the first time.
Wow.
And I think Desmond was like 17, maybe like 16 and a half, 17. And so, I made him make a promise. I was like, if you graduate from high school, you can come live with me, provided that you work and go to school. So Desmond kept his end of the bargain. I mean, it was a struggle for him. I didn't think he was going to graduate because he does have, he has some learning issues. And then, his dad dropped out of school in the 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
So
And for him to have lost his dad as well, the trauma of that, and still trying to figure out how to go to school. I can only
right.
imagine what he was dealing with there.
He didn't have a good start in life. I mean, even with Dwayne, my side of the family basically took care of Dwayne.
Mm-hmm.
We were very close to his mother.
Mm-hmm.
My
Mm-hmm.
mom, that was her first cousin. His mother was my mom's first cousin, but I
Okay.
always called her as my aunt. So we
Mm.
always kept her and Dwayne close. And so, but because Dwayne suffered from substance abuse,
Mm-hmm.
Desmond went through foster care, and then eventually, his aunt took him in when he was in
Okay.
high school. So
Okay.
he went through
Okay.
all kinds of trends. So when he came to me as a 19-year-old, it was
Mm-hmm.
almost like having a kid. You
Right, because
know,
he had never really been in a home situation before.
he never had a stable home situation. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember, like, when he was in high school, I tried to be involved in his schoolwork. I would go reach
Mm-hmm.
out to his school teachers. I would drive from Maryland to Hampton, Virginia, and make sure those teachers knew me. I had
Mm-hmm.
him put into a special reading class.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make sure that he was on top of his grades, as much as I could.
Right.
And but that's what got me involved in starting my nonprofit, because something inside of me clicked. It was like, why is so many people, especially Black people, having to go through this? And it's because
Mm-hmm.
of prohibition. If
Mm-hmm.
Wayne had never went to prison for drugs, what he needed was drug rehab and mental health
Mm-hmm.
assistance. If he had never went to prison, the trajectory of his life would have changed dramatically, and he probably would have been here today.
And you speak on the decriminalization of drugs, and especially the marijuana charges. Now, one of the things that is still really the insult to injury is that you have these men, these Black men who got locked up for marijuana or these drugs, but now that it's an opioid crisis and it's
Mhm.
a free market system, now white men are making money in the nonprofit space, helping others with helping people get over opioids, and white men are making money in the cannabis space by now having dispensaries, growers, and things like that. And even after you have arrested Black men, after
Mhm.
you have jailed Black men, if you destroy Black families, you're still trying to make money off of it now, because now you can make money off it. So it's totally different.
Right,
I
it's
would
totally different. That's why I'm so happy that you invited me to be on the show, because Black people need to get on board with drug legalization.
Mhm. So tell
Okay,
me,
we
when you
need.
say drug legalization, because a lot of us grew up through the war on drugs. We were taught this is what your brain is on drugs, and that it was all gateway drugs, and it'll lead you to be a crackhead. And we
Mhm.
lived through the crack epidemic. And so for a lot of people, it sounds like when you say drug legalization, that means that you can shoot up on every corner and blah blah blah. But I know
Yeah,
that's not what you mean. But how would you tell somebody who's like, hey, I think it's dangerous? What would you tell them what drug legalization really means?
drug legalization is harm reduction.
Okay.
Drug legalization equals mass liberation.
Okay.
Drug legalization is a way to protect public health and safety. Um, Drug legalization equals racial justice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, what I mean by that is, when you look at, especially a lot of the crime here in Baltimore and other cities like Baltimore across the nation,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen an uptick in violent crimes. It'll be interesting to see, you know, are those violent crimes related to drug trafficking? Because if so, legalization could be a way to significantly reduce that, just like we did with prohibition. Okay,
Yes.
when we ended prohibition, organized crime went away as it pertained to, selling alcohol.
Gambling in Vegas too. When it became more effective, when they could get more capital to start building, the corporations moved in and moved the mafia out.
Move the mafia out. So we need to move the cartels out, reduce their influence. When you reduce their influence, you'll probably see a reduction in immigration. A lot
Mm.
of people, south of the border come here because the cartels have terrorized their lives.
Right,
Okay.
and by if we handle if we take away the money from the cartels in America, then there'll be less terror in their areas. I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
Right, right. So drug legalization is a chance at world peace. I mean, that's
That's
that's the message I'm trying to, share with people is, let's reduce the influence of organized crime so that our communities can be safe. Let's produce a protected drug supply so that we can reduce the number of overdoses.
So let's deal with that. So what is legalization of drugs? What does that look like? So
Oh,
does that mean that I can go grab a couple grams of heroin at my local CVS so I can shoot up, or does that mean that if I do happen to have a couple grams of heroin, that I won't go to jail? Like I don't understand. I want to help them understand what does legalization look like.
well, our working group is working with the Reason Foundation to produce a drug legalization handbook.
Right.
So we talked about this over the last couple of months, and first of all, what it would look like is children are not allowed to use drugs. Of course, anyone under the age of 21 would not be allowed to use drugs or sell drugs. We proposed that drug legalization would happen at the state level.
Gotcha.
So they would control, it's much like what we do with alcohol. You have a license for retailers and distributors.
Okay.
And, the concept, to be honest with you, to just go into a setting, how you can go to a liquor store and get drugs. Get alcohol.
I was like, I don't know what 7-Elevens you go to, because the ones I have not been able to pick up some of the things at the 7-Eleven. But okay, the alcohol when you go into Virginia, I'm with you now. Okay.
But I don't know if you could just. It depends on the type of drug. I think some of the more hard drugs like cocaine and heroin, you wouldn't be able to just walk in the store and get it.
The same way like marijuana works now. Like,
Yeah.
you got to go to a dispensary, you have to have a license and stuff like that. That makes a lot of sense because, the interesting part is that while we engage them as, these drugs as a negative perspective, is that a lot of people use them to navigate through mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, and I'll speak specifically about cannabis because I work with a couple companies to help them put their business plans and stuff like that together for the cannabis industry. But there are true medicinal purposes of cannabis. And part of the challenge is getting the true medicinal purposes through when you actually are talking, when people are talking about the criminal parts of it, the illegal parts of it, the violent parts of it. But it sounds like you're saying that the violence is part of the criminality makes it violent. Like if it wasn't criminal, it wouldn't be violent.
That the prohibition of all drugs is what fuels the underground economy, the black market, essentially. But let's talk about the medicinal purposes of some of these drugs, like the coca leaf, for example, where cocaine is made from. That's Schedule 2 right now. But the coca leaf itself has been around for like over 8,000 years.
Right.
And the indigenous people of Colombia and Peru and Bolivia have been using the coca leaf to help with oxygen deprivation. They've been using it to help with with starvation, to help stave hunger. See it in coca teas, coca paper. I think I saw something like coca beer, and just you can just use it for all kinds of things. So I feel like once people begin to accept the idea of legalization, you can open the door to research.
Okay.
And really help to explore the medicinal properties of some of these other drugs even more so.
Okay. So you mentioned the work with the Reason Foundation and the handbook. Tell us a little bit more about the conceptual, the birthplace and the concept behind the handbook.
Man, what I wanted to do, where did I come up with the idea to do a handbook? I just felt like if I wanted to legalize drugs, what would be the legal framework? How would you legalize it? So much talk has been about why we should legalize drugs, but not enough talk had been focused on how we should legalize drugs. Okay, so that's what I was like, let me get some people together and start writing a handbook. And I just randomly reached out to people like Dr. Jeffrey Myron from Harvard.
Okay.
He was like, yeah, I'll contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Jeffrey Singer from the Cato Institute. He was like, yeah. I met Jacob Rich at one of these other Cato Institute functions, and we stayed in contact. And I was like, hey, would you like to contribute? And he was like, yeah. My friend Mikey G, who was he was formerly incarcerated for selling marijuana, and he's a person who's in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw him yesterday. He's in town. You know, he has lived experience, and he contributed to the book.
That's awesome.
You know, so we for about 6 months or so. So what I did is I gave each person a chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, can you contribute, you know, write a little piece on it. And then in the end, the Reason Foundation was like, you know, we were thinking about doing something like this ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
since we've already reached out to some people that we thought are reputable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're going to publish this for you. So the goal is to have the first draft on 4/20.
Yes,
Yeah.
please and thank you.
I can't wait for that thing to get published.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
You gonna kill some trees while you burn some trees?
Oh, well, I mean, after that, so then, you know, a month ago, Pete France and I from LEAP, you know, I don't know, we talked about Pete.
Yeah, but they weren't there for our conversation. Tell them about Pete.
So Pete France is special. He is a former Baltimore police officer. Okay. And his life was depicted on a few episodes of the hit TV show The Wire.
Mm-hmm.
But he and I met with Delegate David Moon,
Mm-hmm.
and we asked the delegate if he would be interested in introducing legislation to support a pilot study.
Right.
And David said, "I'm not sure."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I'm not sure, but I'm open." Okay, but I need to see a coalition of people behind you.
Okay.
So as soon as, but he was like, I need to see that handbook. Everybody wants to see the handbook. and so, because the handbook is going to serve as the basis for everything.
Right.
And so once I build a coalition and get this handbook out on the street,
Mm-hmm.
I know drugs aren't going to be legal tomorrow, William, and it's not going to be legal next year. But it will, I mean, these are kinds of things that help build awareness around the issue.
Right. And so one of the things that you are really demonstrating is the process by which these things happen, because a lot of times we think that it's a quick fix, like the legislature should come in and da. But what people really do need to understand is that this is work, and it's a lot of tedious work. It's a lot of conversations with people. It's a lot of it's like trying to create critical mass and momentum at the same time.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, but once you do, you have a greater likelihood of success. One of the things that I think we talked about this as well. One of the great parts about you creating the coalition is that it reduces the amount of time or amount that people are going to protest, or you gives you an opportunity to understand what they're going to say in protestation. So if we have a conversation and you say like, hey, look, I would be all over the legalization of drugs, but I'm concerned about smoking and driving, getting high and driving. So what now that gives you the opportunity to do is like, hey, let's get some information on how do we address the issue of drinking under the influence, not just driving under the influence of marijuana, and talk about the reforms that are necessary or the supports that are necessary to keep that from happening, as opposed to let's just keep locking people up.
Right.
Because a lot of what we have learned is that you can't arrest your way out of these problems.
No.
These are human problems. And if we don't start addressing people as humans, we're going to have to keep treating them like animals and putting them in jail, putting them in cages like animals because we don't treat them like people.
Yeah, we need to start investing. We need to start investing in people. So one of the things that inspire me about drug legalization is all that tax revenue that's going to be coming in. I mean, this is money that you can invest in people's drug rehab, mental health, send kids to college, invest in our own national healthcare system, create jobs for people, research. The list goes on and on.
And so the practical application, and I really appreciate the fact that you are taking it from that high level. You are setting the stage, and you are putting the policies and things like that, the blueprint basically for the policy level people. But I
Mhm.
also appreciate that you have thought through that even after the implementation of the policy, there's still more work to be done. There's
Yeah.
still about the community engagement. There's still about also so let's talk about this. Because again, I always think shameless self promotion. So
Yeah.
I got things to say on this. But is part of the handbook going to talk about ensuring equity
Yeah.
along the distribution of resources? So, for example, in cannabis legalization in Maryland, that legalization and all that went forward, but when it came time to issue licenses, Black
Yeah.
people got left out of that conversation. So in your handbook, is there going to be an opportunity to talk about, hey, as you all start distributing money to address these issues, make sure that you have Black people and you have women, you have other people of color at the table, not just getting the money, but at the table to make some of those decisions?
Yes. Well, there is a chapter on that. It's I think the Reason Foundation will keep the title is Community Reinvestment.
Okay.
Um, and this is a delicate situation because
Yeah.
the first draft is 420.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be a topic that we need to revisit and make sure that we address that adequately.
Okay. That
Because
makes perfect sense.
that's my honest answer because you know I know we spoke about this as
Mm-hmm.
a working group, all of us that contribute to the book, and but I can't remember the actual words that was put
Okay.
on paper.
No
You know,
problem. No
so
problem.
we're gonna have to revisit that and make sure because
The funny part is like if I don't know, you might be being slick, be like, oh, well, I guess you're gonna have to buy your copy to see how equity. You might be doing
no,
that.
no, we I don't do that.
Teasing,
It's gonna
teasing,
be
teasing.
free. The handbook isn't gonna be that long.
Yeah,
Ain't nobody gonna pay for this
I'm
handbook.
sorry, but I could tease you on my show if I want to.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, the handbook's gonna be free. Ain't nobody gonna
Right.
buy that.
Right. And so, but I really do think that this is a really great opportunity to kind of set the context in which some of these policies have to be viewed. And I appreciate the fact that you bring the criminal justice aspects into it, the violence, the money, as well as the public health piece.
Right,
That is
right.
awesome and amazing.
Yes, and unfortunately, we'll see how why everyone legalized marijuana because it was money involved.
Absolutely.
And I think
Why else do they do anything that they do?
so I think that's what's going to happen in the end with the legalization of all drugs,
Mhm.
unfortunately. I just get this
You
gut
you think
feeling.
the money is gonna drive it?
The money's going to drive it, but I'm leading from a public health, a public safety, and racial justice.
Okay, that's why you're in the game.
Yeah.
That's what's
Money,
up.
the people, our lives come first. People come first. Money is secondary.
Absolutely. So let's talk to the audience. What do you need to help move your organization forward, to help move the process for whatever it is that you need? Let the people know because you trying to support the Black community, so we want to try to support
Yeah.
you.
I need Black people to, start thinking about
Mhm.
drug legalization. And when I have these public forums, we need to show up. Now, I
Okay.
had one at GW in November. I had a great panel. I
Hmm.
had Delegate David Moon on there, Bill Murphy, Pete France, and Jacob Rich from the Reason Foundation.
Hmm.
That panel was off the chain. It was
Hmm.
on and popping. But it was mainly just students in the audience. I expected to have more people from the community.
I'm sorry. No, you're not going to do that here. The community around GW.
Oh, okay. Well, if you put in
What
that,
community? I'm sorry. What community you talking about around GW?
but hold on, but there's Black people that live in DC.
I'm sorry, but who's going to take the bus down to GW or the train down to GW?
So
See,
the
but
next, oh, I see so the next one I'm having is going to be at John Hopkins in April.
I'm sorry. You
Again? Oh Lord.
you can have it in. So again, I bang with Hopkins. They Hopkins is people's, But here's the thing: make
What
it
about University of Baltimore? Because Kurt Smoke supports.
absolutely. But here's the thing. One of the things I think is that the people in the community that are most impacted by drug usage are not the people who are going to go to these events. They don't understand. They don't feel welcomed on George Washington's campus. I mean, hell, some of the students don't feel welcome on the campus because it's big, and then you get there and it's overwhelming. And you want me to come onto this campus that is awe-inspiring, the history and the idea of the and to talk about how I used to get high and why I need you to have more services.
Oh, okay.
I might be high now. I'm not going to George Washington while I'm high now.
Okay.
But you see, but some of this is really about how do we effectively engage the community.
That's
and
hard. So
absolutely.
Well, but yesterday I was on a call with Baltimore Harm Reduction Coalition. So I'm trying to get with organizations like Be More Power and BHRC.
But watch this. You talked about one of my favorite people, Karen York, formerly of JLTF. She actually went to do something in New York. I'm trying to get her to come on my show, but she's big time in New York right now.
But she left JLTF. Where is she? Oh, she did?
New York. Yeah. She left JLTF.
Oh, so where is she now? What is she doing?
I know she's working in New York with some large policy institute or something. I can't remember that. But what I was going to say is that my producer is reaching out to her because she is one of my favorite people, and one of the reasons she is one of my favorite people is because of the way the community engagement. The same thing you're talking about. She was like, it is hard, so that's why she moved into the community. That's why she spent time running in the community, going to the stores in the community, because when people in the community see that you are part of them, they're more than happy to talk to you. If you just show up, especially in Baltimore, you just show up at Johns Hopkins. Oh, you one of those people. Okay, got it. You like nice sandwiches and parking. Got it. Okay. You're not really about trying to be in the thick of it with us, trying to help us through. You looking for a check. And again, I know because our conversation, I know that's not you. But I'm talking about what we see in Baltimore. The people who always go to Hopkins and the University of Maryland and downtown. Why are you there? I'm not there. So now you want me to take 3 buses, try to find parking, pay for parking, and then walk around Hopkins campus because I'm gonna get lost. Don't nobody know where nothing on that campus is. So but these even those types of things are barriers to people even having the conversation.
So I got to get with some rec centers.
No. Why don't you go and do what Karen did and go talk to people? Just talk to an individual person. Go out into the community, the people that you're talking about, right? Actually, how about this? Go to the drug corners. And again, take somebody with you. Holler at me or Donnie. We'll see if we could go with you. I'm not saying put yourself in harm's way. Yeah. But go there just to talk. Like, look, I know you're doing what you got to do to make money. Cool. Now, actually, Donnie does this all the time. Because he said he couldn't count on the police because the police sitting there watching the drug deal go down. The best case scenario, the police come through, shake the people down, like especially because Donnie has a really big issue about white addicts coming into the neighborhood to get drugs and then leaving. And actually, he's like, they're not leaving anymore. They're in his neighborhood. He's in his alley. He said one of them cussed him out, called him a fucking nigger, and he da-da-da-da. And so he's like, he can't count on the police. So what did he do? He went and talked to the drug boys. He was like, look, bro, I get you you doing what you got to do to survive. I get that. But can you do this? Take it a block over because there's kids over here. Or make sure you tell these people, don't come over on the resident. Don't come over here after they cop from you.
Okay.
And again, that's and what he also learned by that is that they started talking to him about some of the issues that were going on in the community. They were like, well, one of the reasons that person the people keep using that house is because the city didn't do this, and that. They had all the intel on everything. But the people who in the community who are afraid of them, because you talk about a coalition. If legalization of drugs comes through, those are the people who are going to be the most affected by it. And if they're part of your coalition, that says something about its strength.
Yeah. But then, if I talk to one person on the corner, are they going to be likely to bring more people to my public forum so that I can educate?
Watch this. Make sure that when you show up that's the other thing that I talk about, showing up to the community. You showing up the community with a list of requests and demands. And one of the things that, like, when I have clients who come to Baltimore, I say one of the first things that they ask you in Baltimore, it sounds polite, like who are you referred by, whatever, but it comes back down to whose man's is this? Whose man's is this? This person showed up. Who are you related to? Who is vouching for you? And that's one of the things that you can do by you develop your own credibility and figure out what they need, not just what you want to give them. Because here's the other part about it. You don't have the lived experience of drug use. So the community not just has the lived experience of drug use, they have the lived experience of what that looks. They have your brother's experience. They know what that looks like, and they know what got them there. And so they can have a conversation that is radically different within you than one from a research purpose or from a policy level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, I can talk to you about these community events and talk to you about bus rides to Johns Hopkins campus. Because here's the other part. Are you talking about the Hopkins campus at Homewood or the Hopkins campus by the hospital over the east side? So, or you talking about the 33rd Street? But because you are working with people at Hopkins and that might not be your experience, like the conversations about the locations, that's not something you know. But because I'm in the community and sometimes I have to catch the bus over there, I know that if I don't know you, I'm not taking a bus down there just to see what you might have to say about something. Like, you're going to have to give me a reason to take a bus all the way over there. Because guess what? I still got to take the bus back after we finish.
Yeah, I got to find a good location.
And also think about one of the other parts too is one great part is like using platforms like ours so that you have the digital platform to get people more engaged. And then you have things like where you can they can play it later on their social media feeds and break it down into clips. Because you're talking, I mean, hell, you said the whole thing was so confusing to you that you had to enlist other people to just explain it. So, and that's you being educated and studying. Somebody who you're just bringing this to them and all they've ever heard is the war on drugs. Now they're like, well, I don't want to have more junkies in my neighborhood. And I know that's not what you want. So, like, let me rephrase.
Yeah, some people are definitely going to say that. Not in my neighborhood.
Yeah, the NIMBY people. But you know what I tell the NIMBY people? Fuck you. That's kind of my thing, because this wasn't your neighborhood. If we want to talk about neighborhoods, I think there's some indigenous American folk that might want to talk about whose neighborhood this actually is.
Yeah.
So if you want to go back to talk about your neighborhood, let's have some conversations, because most governments have taken so much land, not just from Native Americans, but in Baltimore, they had the Negro policies, a policy of displacing Negro from waterfront property.
Yeah.
That was a part of city government. And so, all of these issues about criminalization of drugs and things like that, I appreciate you having the conversation, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about the much broader context of how does education play in? How does public health play in? How does mental health play in? Because I know, when people talk about, like when I used to smoke cigarettes, cigarellos, people would be like, you got to stop smoking. And I was like, hey, guess what? It makes me feel good. You tell me I need to stop this, but you haven't talked about anything to replace the feeling that it gives me.
So that's one of the reasons, that I kind of gravitate towards Johns Hopkins, because they have that psychedelic research.
Absolutely.
Institute. Yeah.
But again, that's because you're approaching this from a policy perspective, not a community perspective. Now, if you want to talk to Johns Hopkins, now they do have, and again, I give props where props are due. They have done a lot in the last 3-4 years to really do meaningful engagement with the community. But that's a process. So if you're working with them, not to be the host, but to follow, to mirror along their pathways of community engagement, that actually might work for you pretty well.
Well, because this public forum and in the last one is in conjunction with Students for Sensible Drug Policy.
Mm-hmm. And again, you're going to have a GW situation where most of the people who show up are going to be students. Because why am I going to Hopkins at 6 p.m. at night? And that's what I'm saying. So that's what I'm saying, like recording that, and then we chop it. You can chop it up into smaller segments and then put it on YouTube. Then you start tagging people on their Facebook, put it on Instagram, and use that real life event to create some marketing material to get more engagement and get more community engagement that way.
Okay, yeah. So even
Oh,
when
we
we
got solutions at BlackUSA.news, baby. You got
yeah,
a problem, we gonna help you fix it here.
yeah, I mean, I'm all ears. I'm listening, and I'm
Yeah,
gonna follow through because
I am
that's
grateful.
that's key. You gotta reach people.
Yep. If you're
You
just
know.
doing this for you, then you should probably not doing it, because the Black community has had way too many times where people come in because they get some grant money and they're gonna save all the Negroes.
Oh no.
Again, but that's one of the problems with, in not problems, but one of the reasons, like in Baltimore, is whose man's is this? Because everybody talks about how they're going to come and help us.
Right.
I want to know whose credibility you coming in here on, because if I don't know your people, then you might be one of those other people that's trying to get money out of us and then roll out.
Yes, and there is one organization that gives a lot of money to nonprofits in Baltimore.
Yes, there are a couple of them,
There are a
and
couple, but I'm thinking of one in general, you know.
yeah, we don't put nobody business in the street just yet.
You know, that's
I'm still early. It's still early yet. I'm like, 'cause I'm feeling a little froggy sometimes and talk shit about people. I don't know. But
yeah.
no, with the but one of the things that I think is really interesting with the legalization of drugs is, like, when you take a look at what has been happening nationwide with civil justice, criminal reform, criminal justice reform, and the like. This seems like, and financial reforms as well, voting rights reforms, and all these reforms. This sounds like, to your point earlier about this being a critical mass opportunity to actually make this happen this time. But the question becomes, like, we have a lot of problems with the Democratic Party, who, they have like, the majority in the Senate, the majority in the House, and the White House, and they can't get some of their signature stuff passed. So with
So,
that kind of roadblock, what do you think is the likelihood of legalization, or how long do you think it's going to take?
well, first of all, Democrats need to come together on some key priorities. I feel like we're all over the place. And
Yes.
just, say what those priorities are.
Oh
You
no,
know,
they have. The issue is that
well,
they,
I know, I don't think they, the priorities isn't where they necessarily should be. And then we need
I'm
a
not talking about
strategy.
shit. I'm talking about what they
With it.
said.
We need a strategy to get there. You just can't demand stuff and think everybody's going to fall in
So
line.
here's and so maybe you might have a different perspective on this than I do. And so as I'm looking at key signature pieces of legislation like Build Back Better, and how challenging it was getting that done, infrastructure, and voting rights. So what we end up with is that there are these few people who have these other interests. Now everybody else, like, you got 50 people on your side, and 47 of them is like, we are down for whatever, and 3 of them is like, nah, I'm good. So what ends up happening is, not only is the minority party, like the Republican minority party, controlling, you have 2 people who are controlling an entire legislative agenda. And now it's
Kristen
down to 1.
and Joe Manchin, but you know what, Joe, maybe okay, he just wanted us to lower
Oh, I apologize. That's bullshit, and fuck Joe Manchin. So let me start there for the record. Fuck Joe Manchin. But what I'm talking about is more the larger contextual piece. So you're talking about this wonderful, and I agree with you that this is an opportunity to do the legalization in a way that can have lasting impact.
Oh,
But
okay,
what
yeah.
I'm also saying, that how do you see this challenge when literally voting rights, like literally voting rights, the foundation of democracy, we can't agree on that. And again, not even talking about adding the Republicans to the conversation, because we ain't talking about the objections you will get from the evangelicals. Let's
So,
not say,
yeah, so my answer to that question is really going to come down to messaging. We have to be really careful about how we
so what's the message?
communicate. So
Is that
we
one of
got
the
to,
things you're working on? You all are working on the messaging, and okay.
well, no, I mean, my message is that legalization is a way to address the crime that we see right now across our country, is a way to address the opioid epidemic.
Except it's not. It's legalization implemented correctly will do those things,
Smart
because
drug legalization, smart drug legalization.
but that's my point. We don't got a lot of smart motherfuckers in the legalization conversation. You can't have smart policy with dumb people at the table.
So who are the dumb people? Hope you're not saying me.
I need you not to be sensitive. I'm talking about the people like the Mansions, the Joe Mansions, and again, not on because he hasn't spoken on this necessarily. Or at least I don't know what he's saying, but I'm saying in the state, like hell, I use Maryland. The Republican bloc, the religious bloc in Maryland ain't giving you no love on that. And then you're going to have some pastors who happen to be legislators who amen is not going to send our loved ones or young people to God. And then the educators are going to be like, oh my God, if you legalize drugs, all the babies would be on crack.
But you know what? Again, that's why I'm trying to reach everyday people. I mean, look how far we've come with marijuana legalization. This was decades in the making.
But you said that happened because of money. That wasn't because of the grassroots.
Well, money had a big piece. Had a big piece to play with that. But
is there a way that we can get like not just big pharma, but like with marijuana to get regular everyday people some of the cocaine money, some of the dispensary money, the thing we were talking about.
And that's one of the reasons why I support this pilot study.
Okay.
Because if you can implement a pilot study, then people can see that the world isn't going to fall apart because drugs are legal. People will be able to experience, a society where drugs are legal.
So I know, was it Oregon that is recently they decriminalized, or did they legalize? I think they decriminalized.
Nobody has legalized drugs. Not part.
Okay, but they decriminalized it though, right?
Everybody is decriminalized.
Okay. And so is there actually, how about this one? Where on the planet is there a place where drugs are where drugs are legal?
Nowhere.
Okay.
Nowhere. Not to my knowledge.
This is just straight innovation.
I mean, you got the UN conventions that you need to overturn, but you know what? Just do the pilot study, take a leap of faith like many states did with marijuana.
Nope. We gonna fix that. We gonna sit down and you gonna talk to me, because I don't believe in asking no elected official take a leap of faith. You talk about they got faith in votes and fundraising
and money.
No, that's what the fundraising. Yeah, absolutely.
No, the money. That's what I'm saying. That the money that comes from drug legalization.
Oh, but here's the thing. You're talking about theoretical money from very real. Imagine the money you're talking about is as imagined. The money that will come in is as imagined as the crack zombies that they are imagining are going to come in.
Well, so now we got to go back to basics. Okay, this is why I'm trying to build a coalition. You have to start with everyday people, and have smart drug legalization. Propose smart drug legalization laws. And the message has to be on point.
And I'm suggesting to you to stop talking about the message and suggest you talk about the conversation, because a message is something you deliver to somebody else. You know, when you talk about message, you pick it up, you put it together, and I tell you, and I try to convince you by what you should do. I'm suggesting.
Right. And so the mission of my nonprofit, remember I said at the beginning, is to advance the conversation about drug legalization through community service and research.
Yes.
Okay.
Except all I'm suggesting is that the presentation sounds unidirectional. Unidirectional, that you are trying to educate those people to help them understand what you want to do and why it's wise, as opposed to actually, have you talked to members of the communities that you're trying to influence and asking them, do they even want it?
They contributed to the handbook. User union, Mikey G, Union Survivors Union. Okay. I have people who contribute to this book who have lived experience. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So that's why I reached out to different people, because I couldn't write this handbook on my own. I don't know everybody.
And that's what I wanted you to say.
I don't know everything, right?
And that's what I've been trying to get you to say. Thank you. And that's what I'm talking about. Because you keep talking about you're putting together the coalition. I want them to understand that this is not theoretical at this point. This is something you are actively doing. You are advancing these conversations. And but you know what? Y'all need to understand. She's trying to be polite to me. She's trying to be real respectful because this is the show. But she don't know we don't do that here too much. She is absolutely. So what it is that the legalization is something that we need to think about. But I wanted to make sure that people understood that this isn't just a bunch of you scholarship types.
No.
But do you see, I wanted to make sure they understood that, because what it sounds like to a lot of the communities I work with,
they get all nervous, like, oh, all right, so you want to come and tell us how we should live again? All
No,
right.
no, the handbook is going to be a living document. It's going to change.
No, I understand, but I'm saying, like, what I appreciate is that it's not that. And I wanted to make sure everybody understood that it's not that. It's not just you coming in, you have a handbook, you don't come down off of the hill. I have the 10 Commandments handbook. Here you go.
No, but you had to start somewhere.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
somebody asks you, how should we legalize drugs? I'm going to present people with this handbook. But the handbook isn't going to be the be all end all, just like drug legalization isn't going to be the be all end all. It's not going to be the panacea for all societal ills, right? You need jobs,
Absolutely.
you need investment in education, healthcare,
absolutely,
affordable housing. So, yeah. But this is an issue that I'm very passionate about, so I just led with that and focused on that.
Woo! I appreciate it. You saved it to the end to get me worked up because I didn't need my pressure to be this high the whole time.
No, I don't dictate. This is supposed to be that's why I want the public forums. Because at these forums, people with lived experience can share and enlighten everybody there in the room. That's what makes these types of events, like the one we had at GW, even though, I didn't get as many people as I wanted, the people that were there made the event magical. The students started sharing their experience with drug use. Okay. So, I mean, these events, no matter where they are, they have value because it's the people that events. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, this has been an amazing conversation, Veronica. This has been awesome. Thank you so much. What do you want to leave the people with? What do you want to tell them so that they can take away?
Well, the time went by really fast with you. I can't believe it's an hour. That's what I know was fun talking to William. William is very engaging.
Yeah. What'd you say?
William is very engaging.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's what I want people to know.
I am grateful for that.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We'll put up the contact information in the closing credits so that people can get in contact with you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Veronica Wright.